Hi guys, 11 here. Welcome to this new tutorial video. In this tutorial we shall recreate Dan Koe animation, or you can say black white animation, inside After Effects with the help of Adobe Illustrator. But first let's break down this reel. When you watch this reel, you will see many elements here that define the audio, such as when he said if you want anything rare. At the same time, a diamond shape animates, which signifies the term rare. So if you want to make reels like him, first you need a concept and an audio. And when you have all of this, then you need to animate creatively. Like here, people icons are animated in a chain form, defining the term relationship. So how will you animate like him? For that we need Adobe Illustrator and Adobe After Effects. We create these shapes, or you can use free icons and vector files, for example bodybuilder, and you can see various type of vectors art here. We need something similar to this reel, so after a while I found this vector which looks similar, although it's a female, but the position and pose are very similar to the reel. So we will download it. All you need to do is give credit to the designer. That's how you can find other elements as well, or you can simply create elements in Illustrator. Now let's jump straight into Adobe Illustrator. I will create the diamond shape. For that, go to the rectangle tool, select polygon. Now click on the artboard and change the size to 5. Now we have a polygon shape. Rotate it 180 degree and press A on keyboard to select the direct selection tool. Only select these 2 points and press the up arrow key until it looks like a diamond shape. Now select the pen tool to make a line from this point to this point. Hit enter to get rid of this without deselecting the pen tool. Now make more shapes. Lock this polygon shape and select all other layer. Go to stroke and make corners round. Now comes an important part. We created the shape, but how we will import this into After Effects? For that, first we need to separate all layers. Just click on this icon. Now drag each shape into separate layers. Each layer should have only one shape. Now press Ctrl plus Shift plus S to save the project in Illustrator file. Give the location, click on save. Make sure everything is checked and click on OK. Now let's create all other elements just like we created this diamond shape one by one. Okay, now we are in the Adobe After Effects. Create the composition of the reel resolution. First we will import the diamond Illustrator file. Make sure you select the composition here and select the layer size in footage dimension. Click on OK and you will see a new diamond composition. Now select all the layers, right click and go to create and create shapes from vector layers. So now we have a shape layer, so delete the vector layers. Now parent all the layers to main layer. Press S for scale and make keyframes on it from 0 to 70 something. Press F9 to ease ease and go to graph editor and copy my graph. This graph will make the diamond pop up. Now duplicate the main layer and create the scale and opacity keyframes from 70 to 125 and 100 to 0 for opacity. Copy my graph. Now create some stars, so make a new composition and create star shape. Press U twice and copy my values. Now duplicate it and change the values. Add CC radial fast blur effect and change the zoom value to brightest. Change the colors. Add glow effect. Copy my values. Now also add the glow effect on the second layer and add Gaussian blur effect. Create 4 scale keyframe to animate this star. from 0 to 100, then 100 to 0. Drag the keyframes to make the animation fast. Create an adjustment layer and add fill and glow effect. Add this composition into diamond comp and adjust the scale and position. Make 5 to 6 copies and adjust the position. Okay, so now for the closing animation, just copy these keyframes and paste them here. Right click and go to keyframe assistant and choose time reverse keyframes. As you can see how it looks. So let's import the second Illustrator file. Now make the same pop-up animation, scale 0 to 100. Copy the graph and also add the glow effect on each layer. Now duplicate the comp and create position and scale keyframes and follow my process. Now sequence layer similar to the reel. For the closing animation, first copy the last keyframe and hold Ctrl and click on the keyframe until its shape becomes a circle. So it won't have animation between these two keyframes. Now just do the same process. Again we need to do the same process here as well. I am doing some correction making the animation faster, so follow my process. Make the scale keyframes 100 to 0 and adjust their position. Now let's import the third Illustrator file. Now select all layers and pre-comb them. Now duplicate 2 times and adjust the position. Increase the size of these bags. Add glow effect on each layer and adjust the values accordingly. Create a scale keyframe 100 to 0 and make the same graph in the opposite direction. Let's import the final Illustrator file. Press U twice and click on Add Trim Path. Change the end value to 0 and create keyframes on start from 0 to 100. Now duplicate the layer twice and sequence the layers. Now parent both layers and create scale keyframes from 170 to 0. Copy my graph. And drop down the opacity values. Now let's create the tunnel animation. First create a circle and add a repeater. Make 80 copies and change the position to 0, 0. And change the scale to 50. Now hold Alt and click on offset stopwatch and type time star -30. Create opacity keyframe 0 to 100. Create keyframes on size 350 to 720. Add glow effect. Create a small circle and add a wiggle expression. Set values accordingly. Create opacity keyframes on the composition from 100 to 0. Now let's create the circle animation. Make a circle and create opacity keyframe from 100 to 0. Now duplicate twice and lower down the opacity values of both layers, also the size of circles. Adjust the position. Now create position keyframe and copy the graph. Follow my process. Now make a circle and create scale and opacity keyframe from 0 to 100 and 25 to 0. Now duplicate the layer twice and now change the values of scale and opacity. Sequence the layers and duplicate the layers again. Change the scale and opacity values. Now again duplicate. Now again duplicate and add scale values from 0 to 125 and 100. Go to stroke and add dashes. Set the values accordingly. Add opacity keyframes from 100 to 0 to 75. And opacity keyframes will also be added from 100 to 50. Now duplicate the dashes layer and lower down the scale value to 85. Also add offset keyframes accordingly. Now duplicate the circle shape which don't have dashes and increase the scale to 125 and set opacity to 0. The layer which don't have dashes will have an offset expression time *530. Now on this layer add the same expressions. Now on this layer also add turbulent displace effect. Now copy my values. Set keyframes on the size amount accordingly. Add the same expression on evolution. On the second dashes layer, set opacity to 0. Now duplicate the turbulent layer, scale it and decrease opacity. Now we need to remove the fill, so for that go to fill and create opacity keyframes from 100 to 0 and then add keyframes on stroke from 0 to 6. Now copy paste the wiggle expression on the small circle. Now create scale keyframes on both turbulent layers and increase the values and decrease as well after some frames. Also change the size and amount values. Now adjust the keyframe positions. Also copy paste keyframes and do time reverse keyframes. Create a null object and parent all layers except the fill circle. Create scale keyframes from 100 to 0. Now duplicate these two stroke circles. Now all the three circles needs to be filled with black color. Copy paste the wiggle expression. Now make another star composition. Make 4 stars and adjust the position, opacity and scale. Parent all layers to the big star. Create scale keyframe 0 to 100. Copy the graph. Add glow effect. Add a wiggle expression on each layer. Now add the composition into the circle comb. Duplicate twice and adjust the rotation, scale and position accordingly. Now we need to make some more circles. So create a circle and add a wiggle expression. Then create a scale keyframes from 0 to 135 and copy the same graph. Duplicate 3 times and change the scale values. Now create scale keyframes on the small circle from 100 to 250. Now just parent these 3 layers to the last layer and create position keyframes. Adjust these circles behind the big circle. Now on the star composition, add scale and position keyframes. Adjust the graph and adjust the position of the keyframes. Now do the last thing, which is scale down to 0 on the big circle and adjust the graph accordingly. So that's how Dan Koe makes his animation inside After Effects. In short, what we need to do to make this animation is to create various shape inside Adobe Illustrator and After Effects as well. Mostly use effects like glow and turbulent displays. Sequence the layers and adjust keyframes to achieve desired movement and effects. So I hope you understand this tutorial. So that's it for today's video. I hope you like it. Please subscribe to this channel for more editing tutorials.
That my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I've been feeling weird, I can't seem to focus good enough.